Hey everybody, I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving yesterday. I have to say that I did. I went to my sister's and it was a little bittersweet, but also it was a nice get together with my family, so it was nice. And I came home and I flopped on the couch and I did nothing after that. So that's what I did yesterday. I hope you all had time to relax and enjoy the holiday. Um, I am working on my twisted leg design for the jeans sew along, and I sewed them together, and I'm going to show you that. But before I show you that, I want to show you a rookie mistake I made. I'm going to switch my camera here. Okay, so basically, if you remember last week, I had cut off inseam from over here, and then I went to, I put it over here. So this whole section here was over here, and I basically just put it over here to make the side and inseams twist. So I added to the side seam in the back, and I added to the inseam in the front. And you can see that, I had it all organized when I got off camera last week, and I was ready to, finish this up and sew my muslin. But what I forgot to do, and this is where my rookie mistake comes in, and I want to sort of point it out to you so you don't make a similar rookie mistake. Make notes about what you did before you leave. I didn't make notes on my pattern to tell me, oh, I still need to add a seam allowance on the side. I need to add a seam allowance here. So when I looked at the pieces, I kind of had to guess which edges I had cut off. So basically, I did the best I could and I added allowances, but my muslin is now huge. So I think I added extra, and I'm going to show it to you in a minute. Let me just stop and say hi. Hi, Barbara. Welcome. Hi, Victoria. You had an absolutely wonderful day because the day before I had endoscopic procedure at the hospital, and the results were I'm cancer-free. Oh, my goodness, Victoria, thank you for sharing that with us. I am so happy for you. Oh, that makes my heart so happy. Thank you for telling me that. I was thinking of you during the week. So, yay. I think we're going to be on the up. My cold that I've been struggling with literally for a week and a half now is finally leaving my body. It was kind of congestion and it went into my head, and now I feel like it's coming out my ears. Literally, my ears are the last things to feel stuffy. So I think we're going to be fabulous for the rest of the holiday season. Hey, Escape 10 Mom, welcome. All right, so because I wasn't feeling well and because I had Thanksgiving, I didn't get as much done as I had hoped to. However, I did sew together the muslin, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show it to you. And you can see this is a do what I say, don't do what I do moment, because I didn't do what I say. So literally, you can see here, my seam allowances are inside out. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take those apart, and I'm going to re-sew them so they're right sides out, because the other thing is they were way too big. But before I do that, let me just show you this. I'm going to draw on the muslin because I'm not 100% sure I got a dramatic enough twist in my hem. So in order for you to see it when I'm wearing it, I am going to just take my ruler and I'm going to sort of highlight where it is here. I'm not going to draw right on the seam. I'm going to draw next to the seam like this. So I'm not really on the seam. I just want to kind of show you where it is. So this is where my inseam twisted to here, right? And then my side seam twisted, and again I'm just going to draw right next to the seam because I'm actually going to take this out and fix it so it's right side out which might also help see. But basically, well, actually, before I do anything, I just want to show you how this looks. I'm just marking one leg, and I'm wearing little shorts, so don't be alarmed. I do have clothes on. I'm just going to move some stuff out of the way here so I can show you, oops, so I can show you without scaring you with too much mess. All right, I'm just going to put these on over my shorts. Hey, Diane, welcome. Hey, Judy. We will think happy thoughts for the holiday. Yes, we're all going to think happy thoughts. Mary says, your cold sounds better. Glad you're on the mend. Yep, I'm definitely on the mend. I'm starting to feel my old, what do I want to say? Like my old exuberant self. I'm just going to slip these on over my little sleeping shorts I'm wearing. So you can see. So I will have a little extra bulk under there, but that's all right. They're a little bit too big. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. Let's see if I can show you. All right, so what I want to show you is, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. All right, so I'm going to turn this hem up. Okay, so I think you can see my side seam is coming forward, but it really doesn't come to the middle of my leg. It comes like to right here. And then in the back, you can see where the inseam is coming off, you know, towards center, but it's not really center enough. And also, see how big it is? So what I'm going to do is I am going to take out my side seams, and I'm going to sew them a little deeper. Let's see. Okay. All right. I wish you could smell in my house. I am currently simmering my pot of turkey. I'm making turkey stock right now. I'm very excited about that. So, very excited about the turkey stock, but my whole house smells like turkey soup now. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. And then we'll evaluate the fit a little bit. I'm just going to literally tear this apart. Now, if you've worked with this heavyweight muslin, this muslin is like supersonic heavy. It's the muslin I use when I'm teaching non-stretch jean fitting because it's just so crazy thick. And let me just going to take out these seams. But see, look what I can do. Once I get it started, this is how strong this muslin is. See, I can literally just tear it out like this. And of course, I used a big stitch too, so taking apart the inseams are not going to be that big of a deal. I mean, the side seams. I'm not going to take the inseams out because I did sew those properly. And while I'm taking this out, I just want to chat with you about my cool tool for this week. I was so excited to share with you. I don't know if you're familiar with modern American vintage woodworker, Chris Hansen. He is amazing. And look at this beautiful clapper. Do I have the sample that I made? I don't know what I did with it, but basically I showed how to use this for cool tools this week. It's hefty and it is gorgeous. So I got this from Modern American Vintage, and it's my new favorite companion to my iron. I love it. And it's shocking how heavy it is because it's weighted. So if you're interested in a piece of art clapper, there are so many beautiful ones to choose from. I'll put the link in the description below when I get off, or you can head over to Cool Tools that I just did on Tuesday and see that. Okay, so let's turn this around here so we can see what I'm doing. I'm going to lay my back flat on the table like this. Okay, and then I'm going to bring my front up like this. And then you can see I had 1 inch seam allowances here. I think I'm going to go to, I don't know, 1 3/4, because like I said, this was way too loose. And I might have made a mistake and actually added more seam allowance than I was supposed to, because remember, if you were on with me when I first started, I made a rookie error in not making notes on my pattern to remind myself if I needed to add seam allowances or not after I got off. And actually, between you and me, I got off Fab Fit Friday last week and I hopped on the couch, so I didn't finish working on the pattern like I should have. But basically, I'm gonna just give this a little bit of a deeper seam allowance, and then we're going to try it on again so you can see how it's fitting if it's a little bit snugger. And then I'm going to talk about actually making the twist in the leg a little bit more dramatic, because I'm really not happy with the effect I'm getting. So my machine has a really helpful stitch plate. So for example, I could see up here, it tells me where all of my, let me just bring this down. Let me just move me over here now. All right, and then I think I can zoom in even a little bit better so you can see what I mean. Hold on. Oh, that's much better. All right, let me just make sure I'm really sharp. Oh, there we go. Now you can see. But I have all of these larger allowances right here. So I have to push mine out to almost 2 inches to give myself 1 3/4 inches. And let's say 1 5/8 inches I'll do. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this. Oops. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to make the pattern just a little bit more dramatic, I think. Okay. So again, I matched up the notch at my knee. And I'm just going to stitch down here. So I'm about 5/8 of an inch farther in from my first seam, because it was a little bit too big. And this will be helpful because then if I need to change it, I'll have the seam allowances face out. Oh, also, another thing, I should be linking to this video. I don't know if you saw in the community tab, but my friend Sarah of So Live did an amazing video on the depth of a body and how it can be flat and round, or it could be sort of oblong front to back, and how that depth affects the fit and shape of your pattern pieces for pants. So I highly recommend checking that out. You can find her over at So Live. She's amazing. I'll put a link to that after I get off as well. All right, so now I have this giant seam allowance. And I'm going to go ahead and do it on the other side as well. And then we'll try it back on and see how it's fitting. I might take my shorts off for this fitting because I'm losing all my inside ease here. All right. All right, so let's just... All right, so basically I'm just sewing these together. Oh, also, I want to thank everybody who downloaded the Comfort Heart pattern that I launched on my newsletter last week. If you didn't see my newsletter, I'll show you what that is in a minute. Okay, let's see. Just matching my knee, making sure my knee notch matches. All right. Okay, let's see. All right, let's see how these fit now. I know Mary is so observant. My needle is going through this hole, which is the center of my stitch plate. I put this foot on and I don't have the appropriate single hole needle plate on, so that's why it's doing that. But it is in the center of the, it's in the center of the thing there. Okay, I'm just gonna step off so I could put these on without scaring anybody. Hold on. You're actually gonna get to see them before me. But I still think I'm going to need to adjust my twisted leg a little bit. All right. Well, they definitely feel more like jean fitting versus, let me see. I'm going to move this up out of the way for a second. Okay, let me just see what we look like here now. So I want you all to know I can touch my toes and not have the back slide down. So that means I have enough sitting room. Okay. Here, let's see. Okay, so I think that's fitting better. We'll have to look and see what the back is doing. But again, I am not happy with the amount of twist I have in the leg. So I'm going to have to adjust that. But basically, this is how they're fitting. Side view, back view. And I guess I can go and look at the recording to see how that I'll see how that fits. Let's see. Victoria is saying, been working on a skirt, just kind of straight long skirt. My side seams are good until I get to my hip, then the side seam starts to curve to the back. Is that because my straight of grain may be off? And then Mary says, I think you might need more ease in the back. And I tend to agree with Mary. You probably need more ease. If the side seam is pulling to the back, that means your back full hip needs more fabric than you're giving it. So try letting out the back side seam to see if that fixes it. Good job, Mary. All right, so I think, in the big scheme of things, these are really comfortable. And when I tell you that this muslin is so nasty, it's got no give. So that's why I like using it when I'm working with non-stretch jeans, because even though the denim I'm going to ultimately use for this is non-stretch, it still has, see, a little bit of give. You can see I can pull it a little bit. this muslin doesn't move at all. So I can make these snug and there'll be give in them. But again, I'm not happy with the leg, so we're going to revisit the pattern now. And then I think I'm going to be good to go. All right, Mary says you take off the extra on the side seams on the pants pattern and then start over and move the seam further. Yeah, I'm gonna twist it some more. Let me just take these off. Hold on one second. I'm actually gonna put my yoga pants back on because it's a little chilly. We're finally starting to get what I would consider more of a winter temperature going here in Connecticut now. All right, now I'm nice and cozy in my yoga pants. All right. Put my shoes on. You know how like when you're, you know how like you're working on something and you know you want a certain effect, right? You want a certain effect, but then it's almost like you're afraid to get that effect. That's basically what I think happened here. I mean, if I lay this flat, let me just show you here. Ooh, Mary had a dusting of snow. I'm a little jealous of that. All right, let me tip this down so we can see what I want to show you here. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so you can see that the seam is in the middle of the hem. I mean, it's like if I measure, I get 6 inches here and, oh, I guess it's not, 5 inches. So there's 1 more inch here than there is here. So it swings towards, the inseam swings, well, from the folded edge, it's a little bit wider, but I think I wanted it to get to here. This was the original middle of my leg. And that also brings up another point here. Let me show you something else. I had a little quandary about, oh, Mary says, my fur baby is now wearing her winter coat when she goes outside with no argument from her. Yes, well, my fur baby, I don't know if I told you this part. I can't remember what I told you last week, but basically my dog Sophie got a big laceration hiking 2 Mondays ago, and she has stitches, and I'm not kidding you when I say it's this long. It's awful. And now I'm going to dig out those Kevlar vests that I bought for them, and she will be wearing a Kevlar vest from now on whenever I take her hiking, because she is like a bull in a china shop. She goes full tilt through the woods, and I can't afford another $1,900 to fix it again. That's how much it costs this time. Okay, so let's talk about grain line for a second, because this is interesting to look at. And I think for this, I'm going to move myself, whoops, not that. I'm going to move me way over here so you can see. Let me just get this as big as I can get it. Okay. All right. That's as wide as I can get it. So this red line right here where I have my ruler, this was the middle of the leg. I'm sorry, right here. So this line, and I'll just highlight it a light color so you can see. This pink line right here, this was the middle of my leg, right? And so when you get to the top, see where the grain line is, it's at an appropriate place for my shape, not too close to center back, right? So after I did the adjusting to the leg, okay, I found the new middle. Okay, so the new middle was right here. And then when I brought it up, look where it ended up. It ended up in the center back seam. So I know from experience that if my center balance line is crooked like that and it ends up over here in my crotch, it's going to make rumpled leg. Like it's not going to hang properly. So basically, I decided to lay the pattern pieces on the original straight of grain, which I think worked out. So that's another thing to think about. If you're making a twisted leg and you want it to still fit the same way, I went with the original grain line that I had before. So that's something else I want to point out to you. Oh, Barbara says, sorry about the laceration and also the $1,900. Well, let's be, my vet couldn't take us, so I had to go to an emergency vet that was ridiculous. I basically spent $1,100 with them for nothing. I ended up taking her home without stitches because they wanted up to $6,500 and an overnight or 2 overnights, which she needed stitches. So I brought her to my vet the next day for $800. So if my vet could have done it, it would not have been such a disaster. But never go to Piper Emergency Vet in Middletown, Connecticut. Never go there unless your pet is actually dying, because stitches is not an emergency, but they still charge you the emergency fee. So I'm a little annoyed, but that's enough about that topic. All right, so basically, what I'm going to do here is, because I want my leg, I want it over a little bit more. I want it to be more dramatic. So I am going to move it over another, I think I'm going to move it over until it comes to here. Now this is not the center of the leg, right? It's this line right here. If we look at this, so it's almost like, okay, so here's the back, this is my back leg right here. This is my back leg pattern piece. Okay, this line that you see right here is right here. See, it's the one closest to the side seam over here, right? See how it's right there? So that means I think I would be happier if I think I'd be happier if it twisted to here. So I'm going to go ahead and add another, that's another 1.5 inches. I'm going to add another 1.5 inches to the twist. And I think to do that, and the only way I think I can do this without making it a huge mess, is just to cut off the allowances, because I'm going to cut off the allowances because I think it's too complicated. So everything I just added, oh, and actually we know that it fits better with a bigger seam allowance. So, excuse me. So the seam allowance that yeah, see, Mary's agreeing with me. It'll look better. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off, so I don't make another mistake. I'm going to cut off 1.5 inches, because then I will have no allowances on this pattern and I can put them back reliably without having to guess. I'm just going to cut them off both sides here, because I really, you know, I want to be able to keep track of what I'm doing. Now up here I only have 1/2 inch because I blended to 1/2 inch here. So I'm basically going to do something like this. So I blended to 1/2 inch here. So that's off. And then all right, so I just cut off my side seam allowance on my inseam. Oh my God. All right, that's okay. That's all right. So this needs plus 1 inch plus 1/2 inch seam allowance. This is the side I should have cut off. All right. Okay. Let me make this. Okay. Okay, I'm just cutting off the 1.5 inches on my side seams here. And then, because I want to talk about something else, you might be saying to yourself, oh my gosh, she just added these seam allowances and now she's cutting them off again. Well, there's another reason why I would have to fuss with them anyway. In addition to having this twisted seam allowance, I also want to have a wider top stitching. Okay, so I want to have a wider top stitching. So what that means is, if you want to have wide top stitching, you need wider seam allowances. Because when you top stitch on jeans, you really need to have all those layers of fabric to support the top stitching. So I'm actually going to have, on my final pattern for this one, I am going to have 3/4 inch seam allowances. So I can have like a 5/8 inch top stitch away from my seam, if that makes sense. So I would have had to fuss with this anyway. So I will fix it right away though, Mary, don't worry. I'm not going to leave until this pattern is completely ready to try again, because I did fuss with it. Now on the inside of the front, I only have to cut off the 1/2 inch because that's what I used for a seam allowance. And I will fix the back. I have to add a an inch back to the back leg, and I will do that. See, that's the other thing though, when you're working with patterns, there's no point in crying at this point because it's just paper, right? Oh, Mary said you could do a fancy stitch along the seam lines. You absolutely could do a fancy stitch. All right. All right, so now all my seam allowances are off. So let's work with the back first, because that's the one I have to remember what I'm doing here. All right, so I want to shift it over another 1.5 inches. So I am going to draw myself. I got another, let me just cut this off here. Okay, I am going to draw with a different color. Let's use royal blue this time so we can definitely see what I'm doing. So we want to go 1.5 inches more down here. I'm going to go 1.75 inches. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to use my long ruler. And I am going to go a little bit past my knee. Let me just make this, sorry. I think it's a little bit too bright to see. So let me get this a little bit of a better, I think that's good. Okay, so I'm going to actually I'm going to start it 2 inches above the knee this time. I'm going to make it, start twisting a little bit fast, a little bit longer, or a little bit higher up. So we're going to go up 2 inches higher. So I'm going to blend from here to here, like this. Okay. Now I'm going to cut that off. And I am going to put it on over here. And since I cut everything off, I don't have anything to, you know, I don't have any support under there, but I'm basically going to just tape this to itself like this. So we're pushing it over that 1 3/4 inches more. Oh, this piece of tape is yucky. You know what can be helping me with this? I don't know why I don't use this every time, because this will allow me to hold it down so I can just tape it perfectly without, oops, without struggling. All right, so I'm just going to tape this down. Oh, and by the way, if anybody is interested in anything Sew Tights, this is my Sew Tights magnetic cutting mat with the magnetic boosters. Now through the 2nd of December, they're having their Black Friday sale, so you can get 30% off. 15% off for their sale. And then if you use my affiliate link, you can also get another 30% off. So I'm just going to put myself right here. I'm just going to go to my, hold on one second. So I'm going to put, in case anybody is interested, this is my Sew Tights affiliate link. Boop. And so you would get, like, essentially you'd get 30% off of any of their products. So if anybody's interested in anything Sew Tights, now is your time. Okay, so see how much easier it is to hold, when you have something to hold down what you're working on, it makes it much easier to tape things back together. So I put my affiliate link in the chat if anybody's interested. And I'll add it to the, description after the thing is over. All right, so I'm going to take the piece that I cut off. This is the piece that I cut off my side seam. And, my inseam. And since I've now cut this off, I am going to just, I wonder if I can just put it back. Well, no, I just need a, oh, no, I'm not going to use that because I want to make sure I have enough because I have to add a full 1.5 inches to it. So let me just get a new piece. So I'm going to fix this right now before I forget. I'm going to put the seam allowance back. Like this. So remember, I brilliantly cut off 1.5 inches all the way up. So again, I'm going to use my Sew Tights to hold this, and then I can very easily tape my paper on. Like this. Okay. All right, so this needs 1.5 inches right back on it because I cut that off the back by accident. So here's my blue. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and add that right back in. Let me just mark so I can see where my cut edge is here. So just to remind everybody, I'm putting back 1.5 inches here because I cut it off and I really only had 1/2 inch to begin with. So this really only had a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this right back. All right. Okay. All right, so this is back to where it needs to be. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut the rest off. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, remember I said I wanted to have extra allowance for my a wider top stitching. So I'm going to also give myself an extra, right now there's 1/2 inch. I need 5/8 to make it a little bit wider. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to add another 1/4 to that. And I'm going to make it a wider allowance. I'm just going to use an orange for that. So I'm just going to add another, well, I'm going to add 1/4. I'm going to make it 3/4 just for ease of like this. All right. Okay. So this has actually got 3/4 inch seam allowance now because I want wide top stitching. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a test. So when you see these next week, I'm going to have them all sewn up with the wider top stitching. So this has got 3/4 inch seam allowance for wide top stitching. Okay, so I've added that. Now I'm not going to be top stitching my side seam. I'm only top stitching my inseam, so I only need this wider allowance on the inseam. Okay. All right. So that takes care of the back. I fixed that part of the back. Now, in the side seam, I cut off the 1.5 inches. I'm only going to add back in the 1/2 inch. So I can use my original pieces I cut off to do that. Basically, let's see if I can use this skinny strip here. Okay, that's the hem. That's the hem. Let's see if I can just stick this back on like this. And I'm going to add 1/2 inch over here. All right, so I'll be able to do that, I think. All right, let me tape this down. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing to the front leg. I'm going to move the twisted leg over so it's 1 3/4 inches more towards center. Oh, I'm gonna just make this match. Okay, I'm just gonna put a little piece of paper right here. I'm making my hem match. All right. Okay. All right. Whoops. So see, this is part of the reason why you need to do a, you always need to do a muslin of something. Like even if your jeans fit you, like let's say you're working with a pattern that fits you and you want to try the twisted leg, it's always a good idea to test, you know, how you adapted it or changed it or drafted it into a twisted leg before you cut out your denim. Because sometimes, you know, you think you know, did it enough or moved the seam over enough, and then you find out when you test it that you didn't. So it's always a good idea to do a mock-up of it, even if it already fit. So part of this was to test the fit, because it's been such a long time since I've made non-stretch jeans, but also I wanted to make sure it was twisty enough. So now if we look at the bottom of this, oh, wait a minute. Let me just give myself, just going to mark my original edge. And then I'm going to add, I think I'll give myself 3/4 inch seam allowances here too until I'm sure I'm happy. So let me just do that. Okay. I'm making myself 3/4 inch seam allowances here as well. And again, that's just a generous allowance in case I want to let it out. Okay. All right, so I completely finished this back leg. I don't have to guess, I did it. Now, this is probably a boring FabFit Friday for you guys. I'm sorry. I don't have more exciting things to do today. But basically, this is like a real day in the life of a pattern when you're trying to get it to do something different. All right, so now you can see here, actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut off all this extra paper so I can use it on my other leg. I don't need this big honking piece. Okay, I'll use that for the other leg. And this is nice and straight. Oops. All right, so now it's even more twisted than it was before. So I just want to show you here, if I find the center of the leg now, oh Oh, your fur baby's sleeping while you're watching. That's so nice. I hear my dogs barking outside. I'm gonna have to go figure out what they're doing after I get off in a little bit. Oh, not boring. Oh, Barbara, thank you. Barbara says it's not boring either. Thank you. I mean, really, sometimes I think I'm torturing you with like paint drying on some of these. But if you remember now, we have 3/4 of an inch over here, because that's what I added. And I have 3/4 of an inch over here, because that's what I added. So I have equal allowances on both sides. So if I just mark those, I'm going to find the middle of my leg. So now the middle of my leg is now over here. Okay. So you can see it moved over a little bit. So actually, that's going to actually drag the grain line away from there. So if I just follow this up in equal distance, so we'll say it's an inch away, like this, you'll see the grain line is now, it really hasn't changed, it's just moved over that little bit. So now see, it's much higher up. Okay, so that's kind of interesting to note. Although, again, I'm still going to use this original grain line. This red original grain line is the one I'm really going to use still. So even though it did move over, I'm still going to use my original straight grain line when I cut it out. All right, so that takes care of this one, and it's completely fixed. Now I'm going to do the front leg since nobody's bored, and then I will sew it together and show you what happened next week. I can find my other leg. Let's see, here's my muslin, How could I have lost that leg? Maybe it fell off my table on the other end. Hold on. Okay. All right. All right, so here is my front leg. Now on this one, I cut everything off, but I cut it off accurately. So when I go to put it back on, I'm just going to add 3/4 to each side, because I didn't make a mistake cutting off the allowances on the front leg like I did on the back leg. So again, we want to take the flare and we want to slide it over this way another 1 3/4. So I'm going to measure over here 1 3/4. And then I'm going to go up 2 inches like I did on the back leg. So 2 inches higher, right? And I'm going to use my ruler like this. I'm going to cut this off. Okay, and then I'm going to put it on over here. So basically, I'm doing exactly what I did in the back. So I'm just going to line this up. I'm going to use my booster magnets to hold it. Can you hear my dogs on the video? I'm wondering why my husband isn't letting them in. I'm going to have to go check that in a couple. I'm going to have to get off in a couple minutes to see why they're freaking out outside. Okay. All right, so let me just tape this together nice and neat. I might end up making a neat copy of this after, because it's getting kind of funky here. Oops. Okay. Just use this so tight like that. Okay. All right, so now let me tape it. Oh, you can't hear them? I can hear my dogs flipping out in the backyard. And like normally my husband is like the king of keeping them quiet, like so they don't bother the neighbors, but I don't know, maybe he went somewhere. Okay, let me see. All right. All right, so see how nice this magnetic cutting mat really, it makes things so much easier in terms of being able to, you know, move things around and tape things down without having 20 hands. Okay. All right, so this little bit right here, the angle isn't agreeing. So I'm just going to clip it off so I can bend it to my will, meaning I don't want to lose this little sliver right here. So I'm just going to clip it so I can make it add to the pattern right there. All right. All right, so this is exciting. I think I'm going to be happy with this now that I actually added, you know, another 1.5 or 1.75 inches this way. So I'm really excited to do it. So like I said, before I get off though, just so I don't make any mistakes, I'm just going to add this back on, and then I'm going to go check on my doggies. All right, so I'm going to just put this here. All right, so we're going to add a 3/4 to my inseam and 3/4 to my side seam. And again, I'm doing that so I can have a wider hem allowance. And I'm just truing up my hem. I'm just straightening it out here. It got a little wonky, so I'm just going to cut it off straight. Okay. I'll fill that little thing in later. All right. Okay, and then I'll use this strap over here. I don't need a lot, I just need a little bit here. You can definitely see this is becoming a tortured pattern here. I've got so much taping going on. All right. All right. Oh, and of course, we need to add a little extra right here, probably. All right, so again, here's my cut edge. When you've got lots of lines going around your pattern like I do, sometimes indicating where your actual cut edge is a good idea, because then, you know, you don't have to worry about your eye following the wrong line. So now I'm just gonna dash it in, and then I'll cut it off as I get to it. Ooh, I just have enough right there. All right, and then this should be straight. All right, so here is my inseam. Oops. Okay. And then all I have left to do is add my side seam, and I'll be ready for test number 2. So yay. Okay. I'm going to use this piece here to I'll use the wrong side of it so it's okay. All right, so all I have to do here is add 3/4 and then we're all done. Okay. All right, almost done. I'll just put a little piece of paper right here. All right. All right, so again, 3/4 of an inch. And I just need to mark so I can see. All right, 3/4 of an inch from that Sharpie mark, and we are golden. Just have enough there. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right, now I can cut this off. And again, I'm going to use my ruler to true this up. And then I'm going to cut this off here. All right. Oops. All right, wait a minute. This needs to blend to like 0 over here. And then like right here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am done with everything except this little messy top here. This is kind of yucky, so I'm gonna, oops. I'm just gonna make a neater top right here, because that is a little bit messy. All right. So again, I'm just going to quickly measure to 1 inch and a 3/4 inch here. All right, that's neater. All right, if anyone's wondering if my blade is still sharp, it is, because I cut my finger. All right, happy dance. I have 2 completed patterns with the proper allowances, and I think you can see that, you know, it looks more twisted now. So I'm really excited to try this. Oh, I am okay. I just nicked my finger. It's fine. I'm good. I'm a little bit like distracted because literally I have to go because my dogs are freaking out outside. So I'm gonna end pretty quick here, but I just want to let you know this is ready to go. I've got the extra on this one as well. And I'm really excited to see how these turn out. So I'm very excited. And here's another fun fact. I just bought Band-Aids at Walgreens. So I'm going to go wash my finger. I'm going to put a Band-Aid on it. I'm going to let my dogs in. And then I'm going to come right back upstairs and I'm going to sew these together. I'm super excited to try them. So what I'm hoping for is next week, I'm hoping to have a final muslin, and then I'm going to talk about some of the other things that we're going to be designing for these jeans. The fly, the front pockets, the back pockets. There's going to be lots of fun in this pattern. So if you're following along with me and you're making a twisted leg, please, you know, work on that. If you have any questions or comments about that, I'll help you. Just let me know. And then I'm going to be, once I get the twisted leg good, I'm going to be working on front pocket openings, a front fly, something a little different maybe, and, you know, some other fun things. So I'm hoping to have those details for next week. That's what we're going to do. So I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Thanksgiving weekend. Thank you guys for taking the time to come and hang out with me for a little bit. And yeah, so thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.